Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Ripping On. Tonight I will be looking into Tomorrow Wars. I believe it's a more recent movie and it is an Amazon Prime. So, to give you some context, I love time travel movies and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy how they create paradoxes and they go about fixing them and all this kind of stuff. So, hopefully, this adventure into the Tomorrow Wars will be a good movie to enjoy. So, for this episode, I will be attempting to make small little screenshots or a little bit of a viewing of the scene, and hopefully there shouldn't be any problems. But hopefully this will be uh, an interesting episode for you guys. So let's jump right into it. Um, Technically, I don't really have any problem with how the movie starts off with us seeing the future, and then it goes to a throwback 28 years earlier or whatever, which is fine. Personally, I don't really see a point in giving us a backstory for the character or the characters because I really doubt that that would make a difference in a movie where it's dealing with time travel. So yeah, because you can literally develop the character as the movie progresses, and there's no need to give us like this crazy backstory on his military background, his intelligence, and all this kind, his devotion to his work. It's so boring, it's so lame, it's so overdone. It's it's kind of boring. Anyways, I stopped just prior to the football, to them watching the football game. What can I say? Just in the appearance of the people from the future shows that this movie didn't really need the main character to begin with. Like, it was absolutely not necessary to have any backstory on the main character. Once the future people show up and deliver their message, this becomes like a planetary thing. You could have literally inserted him at any point after this moment, and it would have made the movie a lot better. I personally think that would have been like the best case scenario to make this movie good. But yet again, I mean, I'm not a director or anything of the sort. I just think it personally it would have gone over so much better. You would have had, you could have even put more backstory on the people from the future, and then inserted the main character. But that's just me. But I just paused the movie at the title screen, and let's continue. I personally think that having the whole classroom scene and everything like that, other than for the whole volcano thing, fine, I guess. But I mean, most of this information could have been given to us by like the people from the future. Like, I don't get why we have to go through this whole long process of seeing the main character and having him interact with students and all that kind of stuff, and then for him to be drafted, it's just so pointless. It's There is so much information that we could have actually gotten from the people from the future. There's so much that we could have made. You could have made the movie all about the people from the future in the beginning, and then like branched off to the main character, and then the rejoining with the people from the future. I just don't see why this is necessary. Like, it bores me a bit. I'm expecting like a time traveling movie of some sort, like paradoxes and all this kind of stuff. Like, please, please, what am I watching? It's utterly boring. Like, really, really boring in the beginning. I don't know. Anyways, let's continue. This is exactly what I mean. I just finished watching the scene where he goes to the base because of his draft or the command base or whatever you want to call it. And there's some new tech there that is that is able to read his future and indicate if he's the prime candidate for traveling to the future or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but it's like new tech, like this biometal or something that's printed onto you within seconds. Like they came from the future, they brought back tech, and it doesn't like advance humans just a little bit to fight this war. It just it feels kind of like half-ass for a story, but yeah, we'll continue again and see where it takes us. Even the scene right after they put on the device, like, okay, what if he had, like, let's say a daughter who was like, I don't know, 20 years old or something, and he evades uh his temporal jump or whatever. All right. So are you gonna force someone who is still alive potentially in the future to just go into the future? It doesn't even make any sense. Like they're gonna take your place. Like it's like uh, it's so forced. It's pretty lame, but anyways, let's go. I should have been playing a little game of drink every time you hear a specific phrase. I should have been playing that because the amount of times I in this movie I've heard "thank you for your service" is like ridiculous. I would have been drunk by now. I found the speech pointless. Uh, Technically at this very moment would have been the perfect time to introduce the main character and the rest of them. Like everything else could have been used for the future people, and then you introduce the main character now. Like just with the not the prequel, just with the future where he, I guess, lands from his temporal jump or whatever. Just that could have been like in the beginning, and then you had all up until now on the future people, and that would have given us so much more to go with when it comes to this movie and the time travel, right? So don't know why they went with this. They went in this direction in making the movie, but whatever. But yes, I'm right at the point where I guess the government official, whoever, I don't really care about whoever that is, they just finished their speech, and the future girl is telling them all about their combat training, basically. So I have a couple of issues with this also, due to the fact that they're jumping into the future with no training or whatever. What's the point? Like, you're coming back in time to take people to the future with no training, and you want them to fight against something they don't really know. It's a little odd. Um, but okay. And even then, you cause problems also in the timeline. You're taking people from the past who technically can live out their lives up until they die and then be teleported to the future, right? So if you take them now and they die, you change the events already from the past. I I'm not too sure how they're gonna explain this away, but I mean, I'll keep watching. But anyways, okay. Okay, I just stopped after they had their little discussion about the reason why they need certain people to jump into the future and everything. And I mean, just from that, just from that conversation, they should both realize that they're dead in the future. So, anyways, okay, so they explain that basically you can't have two people of the same, I guess, makeup. We'll go with that, the same universal structure, uh, existing in the same time. So, okay, all right, that's good to know. So let's see where they go from there now. Okay, so they go through the process of explaining slightly how the jump link works, which is their time traveling machine. So this is where I'm a little confused. Okay, you're telling me you're from the future, you've created a time traveling machine with a little submachine that attaches to people and allows them to jump back and forward through time. Okay. And you basically explain that you don't have that many, you don't have that kind of resource to make a second one. Okay. So then you go through the process of explaining that it creates two rafts that travel through time and they're always traveling together, but 30 years apart. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You basically created a wormhole, which links you to that time period. So my issue with this is, okay, you've come back from the future. You can technically start creating multiple jump gates, which could literally take you further back in time. Like, I don't get it. Like, you're limited in the future, but in the present day, you're not limited. So why not create tech that can do the same thing? I don't get it. Why? Oh my goodness. This movie, like, just up until this point, it made no sense. And now they explain this half-ass. Did I just hear right? You come back from the future and you tell people you need them to fight a war, and the reason why they can't see what they're fighting is because you need to fuel anger to fight the war? What kind of logic is that? I, oh my God, what am I hearing? Okay, so I think I'm gonna brush over that because I mean that's so idiotic that it's almost laughable. So my issue is that at this very moment, my brain automatically came up with a scenario, and it was like, okay, two entities of the same genetic makeup can't exist in the same timeline. So my brain automatically came to the conclusion that most likely they would have to technically teleport back something, or even if there's a leader of some type in the aliens breed, they can just teleport them back to the like 30 years and it should be fine once the I guess I'm thinking a little above and beyond here, but I'm thinking like if you teleport back whatever the leader is or the person in charge or something like that, it would nullify the other existence. So you'd want to bring back whatever it is to the past, and then that would eliminate the thing that's in in the past, right? Like nullifying itself. I think that would be a reasonable and could make a better movie than what I'm thinking they're gonna go with. But anyways, we'll see. I was just thinking, I mean, this is where it would have been good to have a little more information from the people from the future, right? I mean, just for the mere fact that in the scene that I just finished watching, there was a malfunction in the in the wormhole or whatever, and they were randomly teleported to like I don't know 50 feet above one of the skyscrapers or whatever in Miami Beach. Uh, Excuse me. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, this would have been a perfect time to be like somebody that they thought was dead end up being alive, and this caused the malfunction and all this kind of stuff. That could have easily been explained why it just randomly malfunctioned and all this kind of stuff. Like it would have been perfect. It would have been the perfect scenario. I mean, there were so many good parts that were wasted for that moment, and I feel like it's just kind of like okay, it's not. I'm sure it's not going to be explained why it malfunctioned, other than to just make a storyline where they go into combat uh, prematurely or something of the sort. But still, I mean, they could have done this. This could have been explained. It's just I feel like that scene was wasted. Like, okay, it's just. Ugh. I'm hoping. I'm hoping they don't go with this stupid like this. I don't know how to explain it, but you in some movies they always show like occasionally the bad guy or the enemy is like super efficient with like killing, or they're really good at shooting shit, and I'm like, oh cool, okay. And then all of a sudden it's like that badassness just disappears when once the main character is there, and it's like bullets are always being shot at the main character and it's always missing them just randomly. And I'm like, all right, all right. They showed me like the scene I just witnessed was they showed that in that moment the survivors were able to witness the death of a couple of people who were on the ground, and they were sniped efficiently. And then I don't know why the comments is like you don't want to see what happens next, and basically it's just them dragging away the bodies or eating them. Like, okay, whatever. Like, who gives a rat's ass about that? But let's hope that kind of efficiency is still there later on in the movie. If not, it's like why create something that looks so badass and then all of a sudden the main character is in frame and it's like, oh my gosh, this badass thing is just incapable of hitting a target. But we'll see. Sometimes it's so funny to watch a movie and see that the monster or the alien, it's they always seem to disappear when it's necessary, right? It shows like in every time we saw like him talking to command, they were basically pointing out that they were surrounded and they needed to move fast and all this kind of stuff. And for some weird reason, it seems as if for them to get the vial and everything, the aliens just randomly disappeared from the face of the earth. Like they're non-existent, and now all of a sudden it's like they have these minute little snippets of the aliens moving in the background. It's like why? Why did they disappear? Why aren't they attacking continuously? Like why? Like explain away all of this. If not, it's just so stupid. But anyways, we'll continue. I don't know what else to say at the moment other than why what's the point in bombarding the area, right? Like I don't get it. It's not as if the aliens are gonna go for the vials and all that kind of stuff. Like why? Like I guess it makes sense to kill as many as possible. Okay. Let's say that makes sense. Like you couldn't stop it. The planes haven't even left yet. Like I don't understand. Like Uh, the sequence of events that are happening in this movie are pretty fucking boring. All right, so I paused it during the stairwell scene where they're fighting the white spikes. So now, in a brief little snippet, you see that it's capable of sniping people with efficiency. Like that's okay. So they stayed consistent there. And it also shows that the aliens are able to communicate with each other because there was a momentary little yabber between two of the white spikes. So we can see that they can communicate with each other. So let's see where they go from there. So I'm a couple more minutes into the scene in the stairwell. So now we've also witnessed that these aliens have some really amazing hides on their back, which is capable of blocking bullets. There was also that scene where he was able to damage one of the aliens. Now, this is where there's a huge amount of intelligence technically for these aliens, right? The moment that one retreats, another takes its place. Now, that's pretty good communication amongst the aliens or whatever. And so I'm gonna say like just from witnessing this small amount of behavior from the aliens, I would say that the likelihood of humanity surviving this form of attack would be difficult due to the fact that they're able to communicate with each other with that kind of efficiency. They are able to snipe with great efficiency. Yeah, that is definitely a combination that's going to be difficult for humanity. And from basically whatever they were saying that they hibernate or reproduce on after 7 days of going out and hunting and feeding and all that kind of stuff. That is that is something that would be extremely difficult to fight against. You would technically have to use like mini nukes or like massive yield warheads or something of the sort to reduce the amount of aliens you encounter. And even then, it's not necessarily like a sure thing that we would still survive. So yeah, so yeah, I would agree that this type of alien would be very difficult to fight against. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just after saying the kind of efficiency this alien has. We come up against a stupid scene where the main character, all by himself, decides to hold off an alien aggressor, right? So we just witnessed that these aliens, once they're being shot at, they tend to move their backs or their hides or whatever to take the bullets. So all of a sudden, this alien is like, I'm gonna be so aggressive that I will just run at you while you shoot me all over my body, blowing off limbs and stuff. I'm like, wait, what? Why did all of a sudden the scene require that it be like this? Oh my goodness. And then on top of that, it's like he uses up all his assault rifle ammunition and then switches to a freaking pistol. And it's still capable of doing damage to the creature, which I'm like, okay, that's a little inconsistent, but okay. And then he decides to do this brave macho man thing in the scene where he grabs an axe. Like, what are you gonna do against something that has tentacles that can shoot spikes out of it and has about four arms that can whip and slash at you? Yeah, you may have blown off a leg or damaged one of the arms, but it's still capable of still slashing at you. And on top of that, we also witnessed that it has a mouth full of teeth. Like, hello, buddy. Like, no, no. I'm pretty sure even the bravest of us in our first encounter with an alien wouldn't be so gung ho and be like, let me just take an axe to the head of this thing. Oh my goodness. Like, what was, why? Why? You have a whole group of people. You could have just bottlenecked the alien and it would have made more sense than just saying, hey, let's have this one dude go fucking man mode Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger on it, you know? Like, come on, man. What the fuck? After that scene, now we are witness to the fact that these aliens can call to each other, and all of a sudden, like, there's a swarm of them that's just popping out of nowhere. Like, where were they during this whole entire firefight? You see how stupid certain movies can be? It's so idiotic. I agree that it would be a difficult scene or a difficult plot line for them to survive this, but at the same time, I mean, come on. In a scenario like that, it's like, why? Why would you have the aliens disappear? Why not just have them around doing certain things? Or maybe even have them have a scene where they're like digesting or consuming humans, and that causes them to go into a little bit of a, I don't know, a stationary or a slumber mode, or they're not capable of being so efficient at running and doing all this stuff, right? Like you got to explain why they weren't there, why all of a sudden they're there now. Like you gotta explain that. Oh my God, this movie. This is what I mean when they should have used the people from the future to give so much more to this alien than what we're just witnessing now. So during the scene where they're trying to get to the evac point, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So they encounter like multiple aliens, right? And we can see that the aliens are capable of communicating to to such an extreme that they're able to use tactics, like human tactics, we'll say, right? And I'm like, okay, the alien is very intelligent and very efficient at killing. So why why are these guys gonna survive? And how are they gonna survive? And then the scene ends with two of them standing their ground because they're gonna die, I guess. I mean, yeah, it could make sense. I'm not gonna argue with this, but the mere fact that they're within, like the remainder, like I think it was like 6 or 7 of them who were left, they were within like, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe max 40 or 50 feet from the initial drop point of a bomb. I mean, technically they would die. Their eardrums would explode. They would have internal damage. Like, there's so much wrong with that scene. Like, this movie. This movie. Anyways, but I know in like most action films, this is the point, right? Like, they always want to have it really close to the explosion. Like, never explaining that, most of the time people would die from just the sheer concussion uh from the what do you call it, from the bomb or the shockwave, right? Like all this stuff can kill an individual, but okay, sure, I'll let it slide, but still, yeah, yeah, okay. All right, so we just got through the whole entire reveal of of, the colonel being his daughter, and I'm like, fine, whatever, no big deal. And yet again, we go through the process of learning that another individual in his damn family is like a super brain. Like, God, man, it's like this movie is stroking the main character's ego or character's ego. Like, it's so dumb. Like, wow, this one family tree has like massive geniuses in them. Like, it's like, wow, okay, cool. Like, yeah, and yet again, all that intelligence is wasted because we've yet to see anything like any scene where all that knowledge is put to use, and I find it so freaking lame. It's so boring. And it seems pretty straightforward. This is not a time travel movie. It's like it's I'm pretty amazed that he could walk into a tent, go up to a screen, um, see a blurry outline of creatures and say, "Hey, that's not what I thought." So weird. Like, okay, so we learn that they've developed some kind of serum or something of the sort that is able to kill the males. All right, you're saying that the females are ultra rare, ultra aggressive, and all this kind of stuff. All right, so if that's the case, then I don't know. You've got something that can kill the males. Like, mass produce that, make it into a gas of some type, and you can fight the war. If females are so rare, that means by wiping out their source of food or um of, I guess, like gatherers that can bring them back food for them to reproduce, would be a good start in winning this war. There wouldn't have been a need for you to go back in time to get all these people if you already had the means to defend yourself. Like, I don't get it. Like, why? Like, I get that you'd want to capture the queen so you can kill the rest of the queens afterwards, but I think I would start by like wiping out as many males as possible, right? I don't know. Maybe they're assuming that they're gonna adapt to it, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Even that isn't really completely explained other than the female is the one that we want because so we're in the helicopter at the moment, and she's discussing the fact that humans are just food to the alien. There's no other purpose. They don't use technology, money, anything of that sort. They just view humans as food. And I'm 100% okay with this. And then we get to the point where they're having a discussion about all the events that potentially happened prior to his death. And she makes it seem as if there's some kind of like paradox or something that could occur, right? Like, the less you know, the better it is, kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, sure, fine, we'll go with that. But it seems like it's so like it's like I don't know. I want to say forced again. It seems like every time I do one of these podcasts, I always have a word that I just keep repeating for the whatever movie I'm looking at. It's kind of funny. Anyways, what did I just hear? I'm sorry, I just finished the whole entire helicopter scene and they're pulling up on the Queen, and all of a sudden the first statements is that's being said is like she's been sedated. Like, what? You have something that can sedate the thing, puncture its hide, and you're telling me you can't kill it? Like, explain that to me. Oh, my goodness. What 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 am I supposed to say for this movie? I would have figured they would have been like, okay, let's slap on a temporal belt on the thing, send it back in time, and have it be wiped out or something. Like, I feel like this is where knowing a little bit about the people from the future when they arrived in the past would have given you so many more options when it comes to this movie. But it seems like they just took the shortcut, and yeah, it's turning out to be pretty boring. Like, this movie is not entertaining. It's not fun to watch, really. I mean, the action scenes are okay, but all in all, like, it seems like the story is just plain boring and blah. A waste. I'm not gonna bitch too much about the fight scene with them trying to capture the Queen alien because I find it's ridiculous. It's stupid. So all of a sudden, killing these aliens becomes super easy. Like, the dad is able to jump down the rope and kill an alien so efficiently now. It's just so like all of a sudden the aliens just don't think about their survival. They just rush right in to be slaughtered, and I find it's kind of stupid. Like, I don't know. This movie is just like it's just ramping up the stupidity when they could have gone with such a much more efficient and better scripted movie. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they rushed this a bit. I want to also point out the stupidity of them sending in or the commander going in, and I mean, she's supposed to be one of the smartest people on the planet, and she's like, "Hey, yeah, let me just go try and fight or capture a queen." I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible for it to happen, but I mean, when you're on an extinction level kind of event, I don't think you'd put the most intelligent people in harm's way, right? But then again, that's me. I guess I'm too efficient, I guess. I think too much. I think the average person would probably say the same thing, like, why would you stick her in such a dangerous situation. Like it's stupid. Now we just witness to the fact that these aliens can kind of glide or fly, or I'm pretty sure it's gliding. But yeah, like out of nowhere, this new development arises. It's like we didn't see this before. Like why wasn't anyone informed about this? Like this movie is just so funny. Are you joking me? Are you bloody joking me? This movie was all about, oh, you gotta shoot them in specific spots to kill them. But now you're telling me like a large caliber bullet can destroy these things with ease? Like, what? Why aren't we able to fight back then? Why is humanity extinct? Like, what? Do you think the militaries of other countries wouldn't be able to do anything? What are you trying to say? Like, oh my gosh. Explosions kill them. Large caliber bullets kill them. Pinpointed shots kill them. Like, I'm sorry. I think humanity would have lost a great deal, but we would have still kind of pushed back against this. I don't know. I don't know why this movie even exists. It's uh is it because like COVID is making like people not think properly? I don't know. Oh my goodness. Anyways, let's keep going. Wait, you captured the queen. You were on the ground shooting and killing these aliens, and all of a sudden, like you're safe to yabber on the beach? Wha- Did you kill every single like and on top of that, not only are they trying to say that his family is intelligent, they are apparently some real badasses too. It's like super intelligent, super badass, where she's able to like fight off aliens. Like, come on, man. She's like the Swiss Army of like people. She's capable of doing everything. Oh, I mean, she finally reveals to her dad what her plan is, and it's basically for him to take the I guess the chemical compound back to mass produce to kill the aliens. And I'm like, okay, but why? There's no need to want to just trust your dad. Like, it's so stupid. It's such a lame plot. It's like, it's so corny. It's like, why? Why? Why are you gonna like base the survival of humanity on your father? Like, oh my goodness. Yo, this movie is it's just lame. Like oh my goodness. Like this second chance. It seems like it's this second chance concept that they're running on. And it's so like I want to puke in my mouth kind of Oops. Apparently the biggest brains in the world and they couldn't figure out that they would come for her. Yet again, so stupid. But I guess it's just to advance the stupid plot. But yet again, I'm like, okay, why? Why all of a sudden she's capable of waking up and screaming out for help? And why is it that every single alien is right there at their door as soon as she screams? Like, I wonder why they make movies with such flimsy plots. So boring. This movie. So they decide to get him to a helicopter. Now they run to a locker just outside of the lab, right? They grab weapons. There's a guard who comes into the room. All three of them could have taken guns and killed her practically immediately. And it would have done something. The aliens might have reduced their aggressiveness, like I said. But yeah. And now I am paying attention to the last scene where they're supposed to get to the helicopter and I'm assuming it's gonna be full of brave moments and epic kills where I'm gonna be like, it's idiotic on how the initial scene that we see from them, from the aliens, is good, and they're just gonna be killing them easy. That's my prediction for the moment, and it's gonna be laughable. Whew, I predicted right. They went all man mode or whatever, or brave mode or whatever. Uh, they managed to survive the scene and they progress and then she's hit by a spike, and the dad is just like, hey, let me shoot at the queen or whatever it was, and it retreats. Like, it takes the bullets on its back or carapace or whatever, and then it retreats. And then for the moment, there's no aliens around. And then there's a boat that collides with the oil rig, which is holding the time, the what was it, the time link or whatever. And I'm like, okay, it destroys majority of the oil rig, and yet this time link is still active and doesn't seem to be in any in any issue. Oh, this movie, it's like it's not having any issues. Basically, it's still functional, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, it makes sense. They would have it on a different power source, but I mean, for the mere fact that the oil rig is practically destroyed, like, yeah, yeah, sure, sure. It's just what's needed, so the movie continues, right? Amazing, right? They're being hunted by the queen and all her little minions. And for like this whole entire scene where the daughter's like, you have to leave me, they're not being attacked or anything of the sort. No aliens around. It's just this peaceful moment where they get to have this sentimental scene where they're like, "Eh." And then on top of that, she's running around with this vial in her pocket, falls from a higher position and stuff, and it doesn't destroy the vial. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. In my own personal opinion, I mean, she could have easily had the chemical printed, like the formula printed out, or even on a what do you call it, on a UBS drive or something of the sort. And that could have been what he took back. It would have made more sense for that to be the way he transitions back into the past with the information for creating this thing. But who am I to critique their way of taking back information into the past, right? But yeah, so this whole entire scene is transpiring, and not a single alien is there to hunt them, and I find it super idiotic. And his 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 devotion to the daughter is kind of idiotic too. It's like, you do understand that she's not technically your daughter, right? Like, she's a possibility. So this whole entire sentimental scene is kind of like, okay, makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, no, it doesn't. But okay, I spoke a little too soon. Apparently, after their whole entire sentimental moment is over, the queen shows up, and the platform decides to break, and it causes the alien to grab hold of the daughter's leg and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay. Sure. And he, in that brief second before the alien grabs her and the platform buckles, um, he tries to put himself in front of the alien. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you're the last salvation for humanity. Do you think you're gonna just go out of your way to try and protect someone who technically isn't gonna exist unless you go back in time and change the events? Like, the decision making of these so-called intelligent people for this movie is kind of funny. The decision making from this man is amazing. I don't even understand what I'm seeing. How are you? gonna dive after someone who's about to fall into the water with all these aliens ready to rip her apart. Like, how? How are you gonna say, let me dive after them? Oh boy, like I'm questioning here because holy smokes, what what would make you think that is a good idea? What if what if you still had 10 more seconds? Like, what? What? Anyways, I mean, it's so stupid what I'm just saying. Oh, what did I just see? The very next scene when he is teleported back, which is fine. They want to go with he was in the air kind of teleporting back. In that exact same scene when he pops out of the wormhole back into the past, or I guess into the present, um he falls, lands on his stomach, and his hand is holding the goddamn vial, which doesn't break. Um, I didn't know all these vials were like bulletproof and resistant to everything known to man. Like, well, what? Ugh. Okay. So yeah, he tells them that there's a vial, a toxin, and the commander, she just has to run off and all this kind of stuff. Okay, sure, whatever. But the mere fact that he has the solution to killing the aliens in his hand and it's just brushed over like that, like no one pays attention to it. It's kind of stupid. But then the next scene, as they're walking out of I guess containment or something of the sort, or whatever, someone's billboard says "Best day ever." Whoever decided to put that one in there, yeah, you made my day real good. Like I'm gonna like, I'm definitely giving this movie like a star because of that. That's so funny. Best day ever. Love it. Oh my god. Okay. Criticism right here, right now. Just like in the goddamn movie, um, A Quiet Place Part 2. These moments where hardcore people are swayed in an instant with just the simplest and stupidest of phrases is so stupid. Hey, if I have to save the world to save my daughter, like, what? Like, why would that persuade someone, you know? Hey, the world doesn't matter, but my single daughter, she matters more than the world. So I mean, to save her, I gotta save the world. So it's that easy, bruh. It's that easy. And the dumbass is like, hey, what kind of asshole doesn't try to help a friend save his daughter? Like get the fuck out of here. Like you guys were even friends. You guys, oh my god, this movie's so bad, so bad. But whatever. So we just went through the whole them taking the claw to get analyzed and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of funny because you're going to take a claw that's been cleaned, sterilized, then buffered, and is used as some kind of ornament around your neck. Yeah, it will still contain the sediment from when it was digging out. Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll let that slide. All right, so they've got their mission. They're going to Russia, and the future people are coming with them. And yet again, a waste of the future people. Like, I don't know what to excuse me. I don't know what to say. Like, they just seem so useless. I but apparently they were able to produce as much of the toxin as possible, which is like, oh, okay, cool, that's cool. But like the rest of the world could also use this, in case you failed. I don't know. That would be kind of important for the rest of the world to have this, I don't know. That's just me, maybe, not being so smart like these idiots in this movie. Um, I would have thought of, a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan just in case I didn't succeed in doing this mission, that's just me. I don't know. Um, maybe I like fail safes or something. I don't know. Maybe. The stupidity of them being able to find this ice cube in a land of ice is amazing. And not only that, it's the mere fact that not only that is it's the frustration. They get off their little snowmobiles and they walk up a little bit and then there's a crater. Now, I don't know how they could think that over 1,000 years would have passed or something of the sort, and you'd still have a visible crater of where the ship impacted. Like, what? You're talking about snowfall 1,000 years, and you're gonna try and say like it still shows that there's an impact crater? Like, really? This movie is so stupid sometimes. It's incredible. But whatever, we'll continue going. Imagine that 1,000 years of ice, and they decide to blow a hole on the top of that ice, which randomly creates, like, I guess, a perfect tunnel that leads them to the ship. So amazing. So amazing. Who would have guessed that they were that good? Hmm. Yeah. So they end up finding the ship and everything, and they take a moment to discuss this amongst themselves, where we can go back and tell the world governments that we found the ship, or we can go inside right now. Second chances are really hard to come by, this the second chance concept that they're running with. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, is it really a good idea to go into a ship by myself, not knowing what the ship contains? It could have automated systems, it could have an atmosphere that's toxic to humans, which instantly kills us, or maybe even kills us later on. Like, yeah, yeah, this is the smartest thing to do. Let's just go in and do whatever, right? Okay, so we'll glance over that these people are super idiots and not smart like they're being portrayed in the beginning of the movie. And the next thing is like, how are you going to get into a ship? How are you going to get into the ship that can fly through space and then on top of that survived an emergency crash landing or something of the sort? Like, huh? Huh? All right. They cut into the ship and they decide to leave two people on the outside as a so-called secondary perimeter for anything that comes out. Oh, two people are really going to make the difference here. Like, come on. Come on. Well, on top of that, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's inside, but I know that thing would be extremely valuable for the rest of the world. The ability to probably travel in space, even if the ship is damaged, we could probably salvage information and understand a little bit more about how to travel throughout space and all that kind of stuff. This ship would be pretty valuable to pretty much everyone in the world. Like, it could potentially also contain weapons that can kill the alien. Like, the mere fact that they brush over the fact that there's another alien race is so amazing too. Like, look at all the information that's being lost at this moment. Like, they're not even taken into consideration. And they're supposed to be intelligent. And then on top of that, these people are from the future. And I'm pretty sure they have multiple skills because if his stupid ass daughter can freaking have like three different job qualifications and all this kind of stuff and degrees and all this kind of shit, like I would assume the rest of them also have that kind of potential. So what the fuck, man? What the fuck? Okay, well, I mean, they kind of make the assumption that they crashed and they could be cargo or they can be planet wiping out weapons. And I'm like, okay, fine. But my thing is with this is like, why did they not check the whole ship? Like, why would you automatically just go straight to like the objective, which is the alien that you want to kill? Okay, fine. But why wouldn't you check the rest of the ship? This makes no sense. Like, you're just looking at a little pocket of the ship and you're gonna assume that's it. That's all the aliens that it. So stupid. So while they're chasing the aliens throughout the ship, they come across like a huge cargo bay with a shit ton of the aliens. See what I mean? Like, how is how are they like the best of the best in some way? Like, I don't know. This movie is so flawed. It's incredible. Imagine this alien could snipe a gun out of your hand, but it can't kill you in one shot. What is this stupidity? Oh my god. Yep, let me go hand to hand combat with this thing. So after the dad and him do some damage to the thing, he injects it at some point with the serum, and basically she starts falling apart. She rips off the arm that's infected, which is fairly smart. Yeah, they go hand to hand with it, and then he injects it again, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's how it's gonna work, right? That's basically how they're writing off the end of this movie. It's I am a boxer or some shit. Let me just beat the shit out of this thing with my hands. I love it. Epic. Epic. Really epic. The verdict. My verdict for this movie is a one. An absolute one. Um, the fights, like the alien was okay. There was nothing really amazing about this movie. I'm giving it a one only because of that scene where they come back and basically one of the billboards said best day ever, and I'm like, yep, absolutely giving it a 1 star for that. Or a bonus 1 star for that. So technically, if it wasn't for that scene, I technically would have given this movie a 0. It was complete and horrendous. It was completely horrendous. Like completely horrendous. There's not much else to say. So now, if I was the general public and I overlooked all this kind of stuff and I didn't expect anything from this movie, I would probably say the average would give it like probably a 7. Maybe, yeah, a 7. I don't know if anyone would ever give it anything higher than a 7 if they overlooked all the stupidity in this movie. But yeah, yeah, that is basically the verdict that I've come up with. I haven't decided on another movie to watch just yet, but as soon as I do, I will leave I guess a little mini podcast on what it's gonna be, but I haven't decided. So if anyone has any suggestions, leave a comment below or something of the sort, and if I end up seeing it, I'll take a look at whatever movie you guys wish. But for now, I'm out, and we'll see you for the next one.